Hello, my name is Lexi, and it's been about 10 years since I've created The Way I Talk. That video was basically created for my online friends. When they would ask me questions about my voice, I just created a video answering my life, my questions, and about the speech impediment I had, and it has blown up to about over 100,000 views in the last 10 years. So now that I'm 29 and no longer 18, I wanted to go ahead and make kind of both an update video and more about in depth of my speech impediment. I've made a few videos on like TikTok and other platforms that have blown up as well. People asking me many questions. So I just wanted to talk about it as someone who's 29 years old with a speech impediment and someone who doesn't want to fix it either, and the reasons why. We'll get into that. Well, for the record, I'm sorry about the lighting setup. I want to do videos and make them better, but for at the moment, I'm using my phone, I'm using a mic, and the lighting isn't great. But it's at 8 o'clock at night. This is what I got, so let's get into it. If you don't know, The Way I Talk video is basically about me talking about my speech impediment called Rhotacism. Rhotacism is a speech issue where you have trouble or you can't say your R's. For me, about 95% of the time, I cannot say my R's. Sometimes I can, and I can't hear it in my head. It's odd to say that, but when I do or do not say an R, it does not register in my head. I don't know why, it just doesn't. Apparently, that is not uncommon for those who have speech impediments, not being able to recognize when they say a word. And I have been told countless things that it could be the way my parents talked to me as a baby, or it could be due to the way my mouth shapes, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care enough to fix it. And again, I've been told that that's lazy talk, but in all honesty, especially at this age, I think it would take me a long time and a lot of focus and energy that I necessarily don't want to focus on to fix this. It's not enough of a bother for me to fix it. And to me, it's like, it has not given me that much of an issue. So why should I focus so hard on fixing something that the only benefit I would get out of it is the way I'm perceived in society, if that makes sense. It doesn't fit. And most of the time, people think it's an accent. I have done customer service jobs. I've done telephone jobs. I have done all sorts of things. And as I've gotten older and learned how to pronunciate better, it most of the time really isn't an issue. There are certain words that do and are hard for me to say, and I either find a way around of it or just ignore it, or we joke and laugh about it. Either way, it's not something that, to me, I want to change. When I was growing up as a kid, we had no idea about speech therapy, that was a thing. It wasn't something that was really talked about or brought up. And by the time we all realized this wasn't going away, it wasn't a big enough issue for me to even consider looking into treatment or options or whatever. So I just grew up with it. The biggest bullying aspect I ever got, I do have some people in life that I've met that have bullied me, whether strangers, especially being customer service, or other things. But the biggest bullying I would say I've ever gotten was online, of course, because the internet is brutal. I have been told in my own videos, that's how dare you talk like that as an adult. I've been told so many weird things. And then gaming, Call of Duty, Halo, Counter-Strike growing up, brutal, absolutely brutal. But in the end, when it comes down to it, those are few and far between compared to most stuff that I go through and most people I talk to. A lot of times it's positive and people find it very unique. And so for me, the way I talk, my voice is, as everybody has a head voice. And so I can't even explain to people if it sounds different compared to others or not. Everything sounds pretty similar. Every once in a while, I will catch me saying a word and realize, oh, I heard my speech impediment very clearly, but most of the time I don't even recognize it, and I forget about it until someone brings it up and asks where I'm from. That's a very popular thing I get asked is, do you have an accent, or where are you from? No matter where I've traveled, I have been asked that, and when I tell them I'm from Texas, sometimes they do get disappointed because I do not have a Texas accent. However, sometimes it will slip out. I'll say y'all or something a bit more southern, and then they'll get excited that they heard a Texas accent from me. But I have made more friends over it, I guess I could say, than not, because it's a very good talking point to be, oh, well, that's just how I talk. And as I've gotten older, it's made me, like I said, very memorable, very unique. I cosplay. I do a lot of different activities and hobbies. And I have friends tell me that one of the main reasons they recognize me in cosplays is because the moment they speak to me, they can hear me. and like they hear my voice and they're like, oh, it's Lexi. And it's become like among friends, we all joke about it. And to me, I enjoy it. I enjoy the joking. I think I have in my Discord bio, like, me and Emma Fudd have something in common or something like that. I can't remember. So it's like I like to joke about it because it's not something that hinders me. And while I know my experience is very different compared to other people who have speech impediments, I feel like for me, it's really important to talk about it and be open about it, specifically because I am very lucky to not have been bullied like a lot of other people have in life. And I feel like by me continuing to talk and be open, knowing I have a speech issue, can help other people who also have it and struggle not feel so alone. Because everybody says, those that don't have a speech impediment often tell me, just go to speech therapy. But the thing in reality is, speech therapy does not always work for everyone. It is something that is very hard. Sometimes there is defects or tongue ties or other issues that cause it. And so not everybody can be fixed simply by intensity speech therapy, or not everybody can afford it. There is a ton of different reasons why speech therapy may not work, or someone may not be able to have the opportunity for it, and why someone continues on in life with a speech impediment. And so to me, it's very bothersome when people tell me, like, just to get it fixed, especially because people can understand me. I did have a comment left to me on social media saying, oh, well, I guess it's fine, but she was like, don't expect non-native speakers to be able to understand you very well. And actually, that isn't true. I've had a lot of non-native English speakers understand me very well. I think the hardest part is I speak very fast. I speak extremely fast, especially when I'm excited, and that's the part that gets them. But for most of the time, awe is a very hard word for a lot of people to learn, and there are a lot of languages that struggle with it as well. So it's not very uncommon, I guess you could say, as far as speech impairments go, and it's not very hard to understand. There are going to be some languages, I guess, and some barriers that would be harder, but in all honesty, I haven't come across issues with those who are non-native being able to understand me unless I'm speaking a mile a minute like I usually am. Once I slow down and pronunciate, it really hasn't been a big of an issue. And I just have had weird comments like that, being like, oh, well, I guess it's okay, but just expect XYZ, or just know that you're never going to get a speaking job, or all of these weird things that I'm just like, okay, thank you for just saying that to me. And again, it's like, why should I have to change something that isn't bothering me, that I'm comfortable with, just to fit what society sees as normal? Because if anything, it makes AI a lot harder to steal my voice. And the reason why is, yes, AI can mimic really well, but the thing is, I switch between saying R's and not saying R's on certain words. If you've heard me talk, you may hear me say certain R's and certain non-R's or whatever, and so it flip-flops at times, and that would be very hard for AI to replicate. Maybe at one point in time they will be able to, but I've made jokes to my family is that, with my voice, it is very unique. I do kind of flip-flop. I do kind of change. There's certain words and certain enunciations I mess up or say differently that it does make it a lot harder for AI to try to copy my voice to be exact. It's very unique. It's very different. Subtitles and closed captioning, AI-generated ones, are very hard to get. Talking through, like, Ask Google or Alexa things can be very annoying because they want to that kind of stuff, but that is, in the grand scheme of things, very little, and it's funny to me to see. I thought about doing a series of me asking Google things and seeing what I actually say versus what it picks up on, because there's certain things that just don't match up. But yeah, overall, being 29, there hasn't been a ton of hurdles. It's something that I do enjoy, and as I've gotten older, like I said, I just adopted it into who I am, and I think it's something that's important, especially to those who are younger, who struggle a lot with being bullied because of not sounding right or not, things. And not only that, but I do, as I've gotten older, realize there was other, I hate saying the word disabilities because I just don't, for me personally, I don't identify with these things. But I've had other disabilities. Like, I realized that I am autistic. was diagnosed a couple years back, which makes so much more sense because my bookshelf, there's a whole bookshelf on the bottom you can see a little bit dedicated to Halo. And as I still to this day, but as I was young in my teen years, I would learn how to code and do wiki stuff so I can update the Halo Wikipedia page as the game and books came out and make sure everything was correct. So in hindsight, things were there. I mean, I also collected tons of rocks that just I liked, not pretty rocks, just rocks. But so that I realized I haven't been officially diagnosed with this, but dyslexia and dysgraphia. Like I said, I haven't been officially diagnosed, but I can pretty much guarantee I've always had trouble spelling certain words and getting things correct, and I have to have like certain things in place in order for my mind to keep it straight, if that makes sense. Like, the only reason why I ever learned how to spell friend is because I did fry and end, and I was like, that's how you spell friend, and Wednesday is Wednesday. I have to break it down phonetically, or else my mind is... Don't ask me to spell scroll. I can even say it. Don't ask me to spell... I can spell really weird things that I've memorized, Mississippi and things like that, but don't ask me to, like, there, and there. I know the difference, but my mind forgets. So yeah, there's a lot of, like... That's just very small. There's a lot of things that go in, and ironically, I'm trying to write a book. So I'm realizing, like, there's a lot of other, it's not just a speech impediment. There's a lot of other hurdles that have come together that have made it difficult in life to do things. And I've learned to embrace it and adapt. Like I said, most of the stuff that I had, I thought was just normal. And I learned to overcome or to walk around, like speaking or saying different words and others that would be harder to say or to spell. And in the end, for me, I don't see that's hindered my life drastically. My brain, the way it is, I like to find the challenges to me, the different challenges. And I'm very privileged to be able to have a very supportive family and friend group that has just continued to never make fun of me, but just to laugh. And I've have friends of all different issues and disabilities that we've also like helped out with. So it's not something that was ever like, I guess you could say, different. I wasn't like ever feel like I was the only one with these issues. And sorry for going on tangents, but that brings me back to another thing is spelling. And this is kind of hard because it's like, is it the dysgraphia or is it my speech impediment? So I once won a game. There's a game called Quiplash. If you don't know, it's like basically there's a sentence that says like, say another name for Apple or something like that, and you type something in, and it gets chaotic. That's just one example. There's 1,000 others. But it's a game that you play on Steam, and you hook up your phone to it, and your friends play it. Well, when I get tired, I get lazy, and my mind stops functioning. And so the way I type things is very phonetically. Again, I don't know if that's tied to like a dysgraphia thing, or if it's tied to more of the speech impediment, but I spell very phonetically. And you have things like red. I'm trying to think of the W and R's where they're interchangeable. You know what I mean. Those words, one's with a W, one's with an R, and they'll change. I'm sorry, it's late. It's getting late. It's been a long day for me. But so words like that. When I'm tired, I will swap out the W and R. Or I will swap out for a closer word to it, like what sounds like in my head versus what it actually is. And yeah, if I don't catch it, you will see it and be like, why did she... That works, like the sound of it works, but that doesn't sound quite right. Or it's not supposed to be there. And I can't remember what word it was. But it was supposed to, I think, have an R in it. And I swapped it out with a W because I was tired. And so I submitted the answer, and we hooked it up to our TV, so the game played, and on the screen you see it, and I was like, dang it, I meant to put a W. Oh, I meant to put an R. And everybody busted out laughing, and of course I ended up winning that round because it was so funny. And they were like, did you just not know how to spell it? And I was like, no, I do things like phonetically. I said, and if I'm tired, I default to whatever it sounds like in my head. And clearly the R was taken out of that one and put it with a W. And they were like, oh my gosh. And I was like, yeah. So that one's like, is it dyslexia? Is it dysgraphia? Does those who have dysgraphia deal with that? Like, more phonetics, or is it just something with my speech? But that is something that's very, very funny, and my spelling often isn't the best, and because of that, because I'm very phonetic, and there, I know the difference, but those are my kryptonite. I have to go they are, there, that type of thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a tangent with spelling, but that is one thing that for me is something that is a bit of a hinder, but again, it's more funny than anything. I am grateful that I'm not going in any type of career that is heavy on writing. Because as far as like, I want to write my own book, but of course I can proofread that. But anything that's like, you have to write a report and send it in or something like that, you're exchanging emails or whatever, no. Autocorrect is my best friend. Dictionaries are my best friend. And I would like to get better and improve, and I have actually drastically improved my spelling over the years, but it's still just not. When my brain gets tired and all else fails. That is something that I have that's very interesting. I'm not trying to make this video very long, but just want to talk a little bit more about my speech. And if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below, and I'll be happy to answer it. If you want me to make a video more about stuff I've done or things with my voice, I'm more than welcome to. I'm not a specialist. Obviously, I'm not a speech therapist. I've had a bunch of speech therapists chime in on my speech, and I think it's very fascinating. So go ahead if you are. I'm not an expert in this. This is just my own personal experience. And I wanted to talk more a bit about this just so the world is so hateful and so looks down upon people who have differences, and so I like to talk about it, especially because it's something that doesn't bother me and that I enjoy, and I feel like it's important, especially like I said, for the younger generation and those that do struggle with it. I want them to see that it is possible to be happy. Oh, I thought my mic died, but it is possible for them to be happy and to continue to exist and talk and be open and to do whatever you want in life while having this, because often it's like either you conform or you good luck. And I know I have been told that by strangers that you will never do X, Y, and Z. You can never be X, Y, and Z. Oh, people are just going to struggle listening to you for the rest of your life. Or if I had to listen to you all day, every day, that would be so obnoxious. Like, just awful things. So screw it. Don't listen to people. I know it's easier said than done, but learn to love who you are and accept yourself and how you sound. And not just with speech, but with if you're on the spectrum or if you have a disability, just don't let others tell you anything else besides love yourself. Like, just be positive. Just surround yourself with people that love you for who you are. And those that don't, they don't deserve to get to know you. So thank you again for watching. My name is Lexi. I hope you guys have a good day.